scream. You'll hear my scream of joy rattle throughout Winterville. But with that being said, our projects. Does anybody have any questions or comments about what Councilperson Johnson has come up with? And thank you for doing that, Bruce.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for putting this out together. I will revisit my report what you were saying, the future and generic stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because this kind of, it's a five-year commitment, so we need to be looking at what 2028 might look like for citizens of Winterville and the commercial district, and what is the city going to look like, and what will it need 6 years from now. So, any other comments, questions? Is everybody pretty good with it? We can certainly, communicate this week as the week goes by before Tuesday's vote to make sure we're all comfortable with the language.
Yeah, just a comment. A good point on the bathrooms. I wish when you review this, you'll see I did really try to incorporate much broader language, including some broad language to ACC used bathrooms. But since you mentioned bathrooms, in the section where, for example, Firethought, a couple quick sections, Firethought Trail amenities, including but not limited to, I use that to give some flexibility, shelters, additional trash and recycling receptacles, just to drive the point to make sure we're covered. I can add bathrooms to that sentence, and I can add bathrooms to the second one, the section about Bitter Park Trail improvements, including but not limited to, and all the other trail-based around the wilderness area, drainage improvements, bridges, boardwalks, and landscape improvements and additions. I can throw bathrooms into both of those statements, even though I purposely made them very broad. But if you'd like that, I can certainly add that.
I think we should. I think we should, and of course we have to run this through our city attorney to, put the legalese on it, but let's go ahead and include that, because I think that.
I'll have, yes sir, I'll have a draft revisions to you guys.
Okay, great. Anything else? Okay, so we'll vote on it next Tuesday, and once we vote on it, as soon as the meeting is over, Bruce will send the language that we adopt on to Bruce, and I will probably go over to my office and send it straight to the county manager, because he'll be waiting on it. They're on a pretty tight timeline to get that in by the next morning, so that they can start moving forward with the ballot. So, I'll move on to the next agenda unless anybody stops me. Overlay district design guidelines, plan development ordinance. So you've gotten the ordinance. We have our, this is the second heavy lift, and I think probably February, getting anything passed, and February obviously is not going to happen. But what I'd like to do is try to get it ready so that we can have our public hearings in March, and hopefully adopt an ordinance and district and guidelines either at that meeting or soon thereafter. And the timeline could change. We could do those first and then the plan development ordinance, but at least get everything in ready so that we can possibly do that in March or April at the latest. And I think that our regional commission retreats are going to help us a great deal there. And now that we've got those on the schedule, those will help us with some of the language with the development ordinance. And they do have it, the regional commission does have it, I've sent it to them for their recommendations and comments on the ordinance, so we'll get that back. And as far as the overlay district goes, we'll just need to discuss basically what the commercial district looks like, and what we want to include in that. And it's pretty simple. It's already kind of laid out for us, but we want to make sure that it includes that one piece of property that could contain that development that is in that we've been approached with, which is next to the baseball diamonds behind the baseball fields. So on Cherokee. And you've all gotten the ordinance. We'll work with the Historic Preservation Commission to get the design guidelines that they came up with for that commercial district. and read through those. I'll get those out, or I'll ask them to send those out to everybody this week. I think Jonathan, I know that a couple of them are watching tonight, so maybe they can get those to us tonight or tomorrow morning, so that we can begin looking at those. Any questions about that?
Just a quick comment on the plan development ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
There's just one typo, and I can just send that to the group. I meant to do that earlier today. It's in section 752 general provisions, C. There's just an extra word in there. I think there's or, like this is or are, and I think it just needs to say are.
Okay.
Back to the division.
Great, thank you. And we can discuss that overlay district. It will be a good topic of conversation at our Monday retreat with the regional commission that's already on the schedule. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the agenda. So any other questions there? And y'all stop me, since we're virtual, so if y'all need me to go back to something, if you don't get your mic unmuted in time, just stop me and we'll go back, no big deal. Item number 3, traffic calming on Main Street. I got them to refresh the quote, and you should all have that. And let me know if you do not. I sent a bunch of information out a couple of weeks ago, over the last couple of weeks, so y'all should have that. If you don't have it, let me know, and we'll make sure you get that. But there's a refresh quote from that. We did have a petition that I still have from citizens requesting lowered speed limits on Main Street. This third-party study is what we would need to have to go to GDOT if we're going to get anything like that done. I think it was $7,000 for the study. So we can use T-SPLOST dollars to fund that, as it is on, and we can use it out of our streets and maintenance bucket from the last 2018 T-SPLOST. So I'll put that on the agenda next week for a vote. Okay.
I do have one question.
Sure.
On that one. There was a third crosswalk there that's been a discussion around Robert Hart. I don't know the status of that timeline. My only reason I ask that is if that's anytime soon, that may bring speeds down even further. It may be better for us with the traffic study, but if that's too far out, then I'm fine with going forward with the traffic study now.
Yeah, and I asked that question, Bruce, to the engineers, and they didn't think it would have enough of an impact to not move forward. But if y'all would rather wait, we can wait.
No, that's good enough for me. Thank you.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask that question.
Okay, but again, as we get through the week, let's discuss that. And if y'all feel like we can get that crosswalk constructed in a pretty quick fashion, we can wait and do the traffic study after that. So I'm fine either way. But I want to get that done for citizens as well, because it's something they requested. Anything else there?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
About that. I'm not sure, it doesn't really say in the quote itself, but when they do the evaluation, are they looking at how speeds or how traffic might change on adjacent streets as cut-throughs to get around Main Street? Like Church Street or Smoky Road?
They won't, Melissa, I don't think they'll look at that. I can ask.
Okay.
I don't think that they would look at that. They're mainly concerned with the actual speeds
Okay.
on.
But no other effects if they reduce speed on one road that folks might.
That's a great question. And I'll ask the engineers about that. I'll get you an answer before next week.
All right, thanks.
Yep. Good question. And I am making myself some notes here. It's weird without y'all in here. Y'all could tell jokes or something while I'm tuning my guitar. Is it what we call that? Let's see. Okay. All right. So moving on, Regional Commission Complete Streets proposal. I have sent y'all a version of that. They were going to incorporate some of the changes and revisions that we had, and then send us a PDF that we can put up on the city's website. and for citizens to look at, and give them a whole bunch of time to look at that before we have our public input sessions, which we have scheduled for March 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. in the depot, and from April 2nd, which is a Saturday, 10 to noon in the pavilion. Regional Commission will be on hand to facilitate those public input sessions for us and to gather comments from the citizens so that we can adopt a good plan for the citizens. I think it looks great, and I think it's something that it'll be great to leave future administrations this blueprint to follow, and basically kind of a how-to connect all streets and get people from one part of Winterville to the other safely on sidewalks or trails. And it also will have a dollar figure on what each project would cost in today's time. They'd have to obviously refresh that through the years, but in today's time, we'll have a good idea of what a ballpark figure for what it would cost to get those projects done. Any questions there? And we'll start to promote this as soon as the PDF goes up on the website. We'll put the advertisements out for the public input sessions so that everybody's informed and knows about it, and we'll start to spread the word through social media and the cities and the Gazette. Will there be Gazette? Yeah, and the Gazette out by then. So that'll be good timing. Okay, moving on. Reflectors at Main Street and Henry Meyer. Well, I guess y'all saw that somebody bottomed out on the median there and ripped the reflectors right out. And yeah, we could leave them out and paint the noses of each end of the median, but what I would like is to put this to a vote for council. It's $1,000 to replace those reflectors, after which we will get the paint, and I don't think we've got it yet, but we'll get the paint, and hopefully at the same time have Public Works use reflective yellow paint on the ends of those medians so that people can really see those. And maybe if we put one more set of reflectors out, they'll hold up. They probably won't hold up for many years, but maybe they'll hold up for a good long time, because they do look good and they do work. The low profile reflectors, they do work at night, so I'd like to replace them once, and if they get ripped off again, just go with the paint. Are y'all okay with that? Okay. All right, flood damage prevention ordinance. So you all, did I send you that? Did I send that to you? Okay, great. So this is not, we won't take any action on this next week because we've got to receive word back from the state that everything's been done on their end, and that everything that we would be approving will be satisfactory on our end. So just hold on to that document, and I'll give you some more information as I get it from the state. But we will have this on the April agenda, so we'll discuss it in our April workshop. I just kind of am putting it on my dashboard and my radar and talking to y'all about it so that you just get comfortable with it, but don't feel like we have to move forward this month for that, or next month. So we've got a couple of months before we have to get that done. Just wanted you to have it so you could get familiar with it. All right, city council meeting time. So we had one of our newer members has made a recommendation or request that we look at times for our city council meetings, and I'm good with that. I think it was discussed that 5:30 is difficult to get to. We have to keep in mind that we keep Wendy here and keep city employees here after a long day at work. So I would recommend 6 o'clock for both meetings, both Tuesday meetings, and that's less confusing to citizens, less confusing to me when I have to tell citizens, and you when you have to tell citizens. The first Thursday is 5:30, second Tuesday 6:30. So I'm good with going with 6 o'clock across the board.
I think it'll help citizens participate, watch, tune in, attend, yeah.
Okay, so we'll put that up for a vote next week, and what we'll do is, Wendy, if you don't mind, if you could make the revisions to a draft meeting calendar for the city so that we can amend the meeting calendar, for the year 2022 with the new times?
Sure, I'll be glad to.
Thank you. And does that work? I guess we should ask our city clerk that has to stay here all day on Tuesdays.
It works for me.
Is that,
Works fine for me.
you good with that?
I'm good.
As long as the mayor keeps the agenda short?
Works for me.
Okay. All right. Good deal. And again, y'all stop me. So Muni Code update, we're still waiting on our revision from them, but I expect it soon so that we can look over that document and adopt that, our new code, after which we'll get to this later as we talk about the retreats, but then we can start working on the code. Auditorium update, making progress there. The building committee will have a meeting this Thursday, I believe, and we do have a plumber and electrician, and it looks like we might be able to come, hopefully, if we stay on track. Certainly won't go over budget, and hopefully come in well under budget. So I don't know if Tom, I didn't see Tom join, but I think that's all as far as an auditorium update. And kind of dovetails with this item is the sprinkler quote. So we have one quote that I think you all have. It doesn't include the alarm system that needs to go hand in hand with it. So we've got two other companies that we're hoping to get a quote from that include the package deal, the turnkey deal. And I hope to have those to you in the next couple of days so that we can put this on the agenda for a vote next week. The connections can be used, ARC funding can be used to connect the plumbing and to hook up to the county plumbing and to hook up the sprinkler system. So we can use that to fund the hookup. We'll use, and SPLOST dollars can be used for the sprinkler system itself. And hopefully if we come in far enough under budget, we may not be going too far outside of that $100,000 that we approved for the bathrooms and alone. So, but maybe we'll get a better idea about that Thursday, and I can report that out at next Tuesday's meeting before we vote for sure, and to look at the funding sources that we want to apply. Any questions there? Mask mandate extension. I don't think it hurts to keep on going one more month. Everybody's okay with that? And hopefully after that we can discuss not having to do that. I do know that the numbers seem to be going down in adults but going up in children. So we'll get the latest figures next week before we vote, or you know, when we vote. The ACCA 5K, March 26th. You know, they had requested using our 5K course for their 5K race, and I think it's a great opportunity for us to show our appreciation for our partnership with the Council on Aging, and I'm all for it.
There's an issue.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt. There's an issue.
Oh, is it with the permitting?
No, it's a scheduling conflict. And although when Firefly was gearing up to do the Ticket to Ride, we did look at the city calendar to make sure it was clear. But as soon as we decided on that date, I should have given you guys a heads up, and I apologize I didn't give it sooner. But the Firefly Ticket to Ride is that same day, Saturday, March 26th.
Okay.
And it runs all day. Registration's at 8 a.m. They probably can still do it. There'll be cyclists coming through throughout the day. I just want to be aware of that. It runs all day long.
But the ticket
It'll
to,
still be workable.
but the Ticket to Ride is all Main Street. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, the Ticket to
It's
Ride.
not- no, I'm not familiar with the 5K course.
So the 5K course, if I can't remember exactly, but this one starts at the community center. It doesn't start on Main Street. It starts at the community center and goes down into Winterville Station. But I do think it might cross over and also use the Robert Hardiman Lakeview route. So we'll have to clear that up, and we'll clear it up. Let's get some clarity on that before next week, because I was gonna, and they may not need to use our course.
No,
They don't?
sorry, I was trying to.
Okay.
But jump in. Yeah, I heard from them today. They're gonna keep us in mind for hopefully next year,
Oh.
next year. But, they had to just roll with it prior to our meeting, so, I think it's gonna be an applicants, but
Okay.
very appreciative of our, willingness to vote.
Okay, good, that's good. I'm glad they have that settled with the county, so.
Yeah.
Good, and maybe next year, if they need us, we'll be here. So, alright, thank you for that. I would have almost have recovered from the 10K by then.
Sorry.
Why are you laughing?
I can't do it, I'll tell you.
So, okay, great. So we won't worry about that for now. Thank you for that. And moving on, HPC grant. So the HPC has an opportunity for a grant, which would be a 60-40 grant. And the grantee, I can't remember who it is. I need to look it up real quick so I can tell
It's
you.
what, isn't it Watson Brown
It's
Foundation?
not Watson Brown.
Hmm.
It's not Watson Brown. I don't think. It's. Hang on, y'all give me just a second because I want you to. We're getting a lot of great help from the regional commission. The HPC's been a whole bunch of help. A whole lot of people are jumping in to help get this done. It's not a huge grant. It's $10,000 to $15,000 tops. But what we were trying to do was to get an architectural report on the blacksmith shop, so that we could maybe put that on the places in peril for the historic Athens for the whole county, and to possibly salvage the blacksmith shop, and to have a blueprint for what it would take to renovate the building. But in doing that, we had to submit some information, and the architectural study that we had done by the university was not enough of a study to pass the test for, or to support our grant request. So we need an architectural study done, which would cost about the same thing, and we would need that done for any of our buildings that we wanted to do this, to have grants moving forward to salvage any of our buildings. So we've shifted our focus, and I hope I'm saying that correctly. I think that's where we still are, shifted our focus, but we're going for a grant to get an architectural study done in partnership with HPC, and the city would be on the hook for 40% of that grant. But there's several sources we can fund that with. There's money in the 2020 SPLOST. Also, there's probably a way, and I'll have to look at it, maybe some ARP funding or just general funding, because you're not talking about a whole lot of money. You're talking about a few $1,000s. So I think it's worthwhile to salvage the blacksmith shop for sure. So we will put that for. I want to make sure we vote on that, that y'all are okay to approve us moving forward. That we have an official vote for that next week, so that we can hopefully get that grant. Any questions about that? I'm looking here. I'm sure Jonathan's texting me. I'll forward y'all the information. About exactly who the funding comes from. Okay. had a thumbs up from a member of the HPC, so I described that to y'all, correctly. But I'll send the information to you as to who the grant dollars are coming from, and then we can vote on it next week. So, good stuff. Okay, ARP funds, and this is just for us to start soliciting comments and input from the community as to what they would like us to use that funding for. I think it's important that we do that sooner than later. We haven't spent much of that money at all, you know, a few $1,000s of that money has been spent, and the premium pay for some well-deserved employees and members of our team here that work on behalf of the city. So before we do make any substantial spends of those dollars or allocation of those funds, I would like to get the community involved. So we can look at our retreat. We can discuss when we'd like to get those done and how those might look as far as a workshop or whatever we do in the depot, getting citizens together to comment on what they would like. We'd obviously need to give them some ideas because there's a lot of language in the ARP guidelines. So we really need to give them some buckets as to what the potential, what they could potentially think about in terms of where we spend those dollars. So let's talk about that at the retreat and get some citizen input on that. It's a lot of money, and we need to make sure we spend it with the citizens' best intentions at heart and mind.
How much do we have there?
So the first payment, we've gotten the first payment this year or last year, and it was $230,000, and the second payment we'll get this year. So that'll be the last payment. So it's around $468,000 or $470,000 total. I think I'm remembering that correctly. That's about what it was. So it's a good bit of money, but it can go fast, and we don't want to, you know, we want to make sure we have a good blueprint, or, you know, a good idea of what the community wants. And I'll talk about the Marigold Collective, and from everything I've read and from everybody I've talked to, that is kind of like the intention for these dollars is that kind of program, you know, one that serves the city long term, and one that serves citizens long term, citizens that we don't even know or may never meet, you know, that may be able to eat because of the City of Winterville put together the Marigold Collective Food Hub using ARP funding, right? So that's a perfect example of a project that fits under the ARP guidelines. That's the one I love, right? But there's more, and there's a lot of opportunity for infrastructure improvements and broadband, and we've submitted the grant. David Matthews Morgan submitted a grant on behalf of the city for that. So there's a lot of good opportunity out there for the city, but we need to be talking about it with the citizens and make sure they weigh in. All right.
Can I add something?
Sure.
So, I come up with a pretty long wish list, of ideas, but I'm realizing now that with the board, we have 2 new council members. So, I think what I'll do is take a look at that list and edit it, because it was written in the, you know, the real kind of scary, like, you know, really mid-COVID times where the needs might have been a little bit different. So, I'll just take a peek in that list, resend it out to current council, and, you know, take it or leave it, but just some ideas.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and I think this is this is, you know, you hear me saying heavy lift. This is another one of those, I think, that should be at the top of the list, priorities this year with T-SPLOS, obviously, but we'll get that done in the next month or so, and then voted on in May, but in the overlay districts and the code for sure. But this is another one of those that we need to be thinking about and planning for the year and the years to come. So this is a good topic for discussion at the retreat, and how to get the citizens involved, and what kind of timeline we want to be on for that. Okay. Let's see, sealed bids for the Marigold Express engine. The advertisement is out. We'll open bids for that next week at the meeting. Okay, citizen committee updates, I don't know that we have any on the call. Bruce, do you have anything from Firefly Trail, local Citizens Advisory Committee, anything? Just holding our breath for tonight's vote, right?
Right, we put, the local action committee on the other groups for some recommendations, that language is included in our referendum.
And just so, just to,
Our
yeah.
list.
And again, and I think I'll put this on, obviously social media and out live streamed on video. But this is the second T-SPLOS process I've been through. And the first one got a little contentious, and I want to say that the relationship between the city and county, I say this, I don't think it's ever been better. I think it's just fantastic. I have a great working relationship with Mayor Gertz and County Manager Williams and the commissioners, and just awesome people doing awesome work for this county and this community as a whole, and this region as a whole, and the country, really. But I'll say that in the process, the City of Winterville has some bargaining power in this process, right? So depending on how the vote goes tonight, there's an intergovernmental agreement that has to be signed by the City of Winterville. And we all have to vote to sign that agreement next Tuesday. And if we're happy with the projects that have been included on that list for the citizens of the City of Winterville and the greater community and the greater users of our city, then we can vote to approve that. But if we're not happy with that, we don't have to vote to approve. I just put that out. Hopefully we don't have to do that, and we just have, hopefully you all hear those screams of joy rattling through Winterville tonight in a few hours when somebody texts me. Cause I'm like, what?
I'll be watching.
Okay.
And I can tell you, I've been in contact with some folks that are working on this, and everything I have heard indicates that we have a very, very good chance of passing the CDO, which includes all three projects. I think we're gonna get some good news.
And I just, I can't overstate how incredibly important and how huge that will be for the city, not only for getting those projects, but that will reinforce what I just said about the relationship between the city and the county, and it transcends even our administration and their administration. It's the people of this community that are really having their best wishes fulfilled, right? And they have a group of people that are looking out for the safety of citizens and the safety of all citizens throughout the entire county, and inclusivity, right? And all of that stuff. So it'll transcend all that. So yeah, it's gonna be several $1 million worth of projects that the citizens of Winterville will enjoy. But also users of our city and tourists that come through our city will be able to traverse safely through our city and won't even know how or why, but it'll be because of the great work that's being done by a lot of people. And I just think that's incredible. I can't overstate how important and how big of a deal it is, and how excited I am tonight. I've been thinking about it all day. It's an exciting day for the city of Winterville. If all three of those projects make it through to the T-SPLOS, wow. I just got chill bumps. So it'll be a day to celebrate for Winterville citizens for sure. Okay, so we don't have any other updates there. And we do have a guest on, and Wendy, I saw your message, so I know I haven't forgotten. We've got one more item here, and that's just to kind of catch up for regional commission, all things regional commission. The comprehensive plan, I put a project request letter in to Executive Director Walker. Our comprehensive plan update is due in 2023, but we have to start in June of 2022 to go through the steps that the state requires. So you'll start to get more information about that. We'll have citizen input sessions between now and next June for the refresh and the update of our comprehensive plan, which is a great plan already, and I think it'll be even better in 2023. Story mapping, I gave you all the first pass at that. We've made some revisions and need to make a few more, but it's a great first start and a lot of fun to come with that and for the citizens to enjoy, and more information that citizens will have on projects and what's going on currently and what's funding those and when they can expect it to be done and what's coming in the future. We also need to add a really great tool that was sent to me by the county, streets and drainage, about some of the streets that are about to get repaved here. One is Inez Evans Plaza here, Georgia Avenue, and Cherokee Trail, and a couple of other small pieces, which are all hammered out through the service delivery strategy and negotiations that we made years ago. And then next year, there are several other roads that will be in the 2023 project, which their calendar year starts in June, so they'll get these completed by June, and then in June they'll start with the new project, so we could have more done before the end of our year. But it's a great tool I was sent by the county. I'll forward it to y'all because it shows the different levels and the road grades that we're currently at now, and where the grades have to be included in the next project or scope of work. So it's they just put it together, and it's really fantastic, so I'll forward that to y'all. And that can be included in our story mapping and on our website, so citizens can see where their roads land on the road grade chart for the entire county and when they might expect to see their roads repaved, whether it's this year, next year, or 5 years from now. So it's a great tool. Let's see, speed limits, we've addressed that. We'll address that next week with our traffic calming quote. Complete streets, we've addressed that. Code retreat, so we've got our retreats set up. We've got our first retreat is Monday at 9:30, not 9 o'clock, 9:30. Eva asked if we could move that back. She's got a meeting she has to attend before she makes it out here, so we'll start at 9:30, and this retreat will be the overall plan for the year for council and kind of our umbrella plan, blueprint that goals we want to accomplish before the end of the year. And then our March 3rd, is that right? Did we settle on March 3rd, Thursday? March 3rd will be, I've got to reach out to planning and zoning and HPC and DDA to see how many members of those entities we can get at the table with us. But we'll have our code retreat March 3rd. So that'll be a heavy lift. So that'll be the beginning of our prioritizing in our code what needs to be looked at first, second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way through the end of the code, right? And we've got to overhaul the whole thing. So it's probably going to take more than one retreat. None of us will probably be in office by the time we get this done. But we'll start it for the city, right? And we'll get as much done as we can. That's all we can do. So we'll get as much done as we can because it's been about 30 years in the making. Okay.
Is Monday all day or is it a half day one?
Monday's probably 1 o'clock.
And is it at the depot?
Monday's at the depot. Yeah. And then to be determined, depending on how many we get, but probably the community center. I can talk to the executive director who's sitting in here and allowing us to meet in there. So he just gave me the thumbs up. So that one will be all day, but Monday will be half day, or a little more than half day. So, okay. What else? February 20th is Arbor Day. Snowflake 10K was an awesome success. Fantastic. 277
Wow.
registered people, runners registered. 185 showed up in the cold to actually do it. A lot of people, I think, did some online, a virtual race. So, great day for the city and a great day for Winterville Civitan Club. And we've got some changes we're going to make at the next Civitan Club meeting that are exciting, that hopefully will drive membership and more people to come out and help out with the city, and helping out with the Snowflake 10K, which funds the Civitan Club to be able to do a lot of nice things for those with mental or physical disabilities throughout our city and throughout our community. So we appreciate the work they do and the work everybody else does. On behalf of the Civitan Club and Winterville PD, Volunteer Fire Department, thank y'all. great job putting the signs out for citizens to see for, half a week. Got us a lot of phone calls during the week, but didn't get us a lot of phone calls the day of. So, that worked out and people were able to plan around it, and I don't think it was too bad on people. I did have some special, situations that were going on that we had to deal with, but those came off without a hitch too, so I think it worked out well. We will go to our guest before we go to the last two items on the agenda and before we finish up our meeting. Catherine Miller is here from the Madison Oglethorpe Animal Shelter who would like to talk to City Council. Catherine, are you there?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for letting me attend y'all's meeting. 1 hour is great. Ours lasts 3, so, oh, actually, I shouldn't tell you that because then we would join the board, but anyway, I'm looking for the shelter, and we started the membership program a couple of years ago, and it's been quite successful, and I'm the membership coordinator. We're trying to get a luncheon together so the members can meet everyone, and the animal shelter, Pam Fox and Deb Roth have we've used the pavilion in the past, and so I was over there today, and Wendy showed me around a little bit. We were thinking about renting the pavilion, we're looking, and what I was told was from our end, not y'all certainly, was that in the past, we've been able to receive some kind of discount because we're a 501c. I'm just checking in on that. I mean, you know, if that's possible, we would love that, and if not, you know, that's why I'm here, and, actually, I'm an old Winterville resident myself, from 288 North Georgia Avenue, the old house at the end of the road.
Wow.
Yeah, I lived there for a while. But anyway, so that's all, and one of the, you know, just what y'all usually do, Wendy said that the rates have gone up a little bit, and then probably weren't gonna be able to do that, but I thought I'd come and ask anyway.
Well, yeah, well, welcome and thanks for sitting through our meeting. I'm sorry I didn't get you on first so that you didn't have to
Well,
do
you
all
guys
that.
are very efficient. I am so impressed. I moved out the
So, and Catherine, the only thing I think what I'll have to do to look at this is we always have to be careful setting precedent because we do have a whole lot of requests from outside entities, and we do offer some discounts to citizens that live in the city and to organizations that are within the city that serve the city.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that, and I'd have to look back to see if y'all did get a discount at some point in the past, but I don't believe that we've offered one to outside entities. I could be wrong, so let me check that before we get council discussing it and everybody wondering what to do here. We just have to follow precedent, because if we open up that gate, then everybody runs in. So.
No, I am with you, and like I said, there's just always we may even be able to use one of the smaller pavilions.
Okay. Yeah, and
You know,
it's not that we don't want to. It's just, and you understand. So it's just we
I
follow.
do understand, I've been on board, it's been, you know, and you can't, I do understand, and, so thank you, and I guess that's, should I give you my phone, well.
Wendy's got it, yeah.
Or
Yeah.
how will you contact me, or what's the time frame, and, so I can, you know.
I will contact you sometime before the end of the week. Is that okay?
That's amazing. Yes, that's wonderful. So do you need my email or my phone number, or Wendy has what?
Wendy can send it to me. Unless you want to give it to me now, I'll write it down.
Well, it's,
You know what? Let's don't, because you're on
Let's don't
public.
get Scott.
Yeah. Let's.
Mhm.
Thank you very much. I was so tickled to see how wonderful and how great Winterville looks, and it's a great town. And like I said, I probably would not have moved, but we got 3 dogs and 85 acres, and I've got 40 beehives, so you know, that wouldn't work in
Wow.
Winterville.
No. But thank you so much. That's great. Thanks for the nice comments. We appreciate it.
And Catherine, y'all do incredible work. I'm familiar. I follow y'all on social media and have a little tune out rescue cats. So just want to say thank you for all the great work y'all do for our community.
Well, thank you. Join our membership group. Take care, everybody.
Thanks. All right, so we'll follow precedent there, and I'll figure out if we did ever offer them a discount, or I don't think we've offered outside entities discounts before, and that would be it. Probably wouldn't want to go there, but let's see, citizen request. I had bike rentals down on my, and I think that's something that we may want to include in the T-Splost language. Now that I think about it, Bruce, is a rental program, bike rental program in the city. So,
Bruce is muted.
okay.
Yeah, I can add that, and maybe, because I can put that in the section for Firefly Trail duties, because that's where that land, right?
Yeah.
If that's okay, I'll put it in that same sentence with the Firefly Trail duties, that's, even though it can be used anywhere, it fit close to the Firefly
Yeah.
appropriately. I'll add that, I've already added the language for the bathrooms, it'll only take a few minutes. And the links will still work, but it's the same links to the docs that I sent you on community. Drive, but I'll reply back after this meeting with the edit. We'll have it pretty short.
Okay, and I like your fleece. Nice.
I do too. It's very comfy.
Oh, you all have one. We look like a team. I got a cold.
I got some compliments on it at when we were at the Snowflake.
Good. Yeah, we look like a cold team. So, but also, the EV charging stations. I think you put those in. Did you not put those in? The charging
Not
stations.
specific, like I
Okay.
said, I've used language like amenities, including but not limited to.
Sure.
But why don't it doesn't hurt to specify and leave in that broad language so we've got some wiggle room. But if there's no doubt we want those, I will add the EV charging stations and the bike rentals as well.
Think about it in these terms too, everybody, because what the county's gonna do is they're gonna take our language and they're gonna simplify it. So when it gets to the ballot, it's gonna basically say probably pedestrian infrastructure improvements or street maintenance program. It's gonna be 2 sentences, but what ours does for us is talks about what was important to this current day administration based on what feedback we're getting from citizens. Like bike rental is something I get from some of our senior citizens that want to ride bikes but don't want to lift a bike onto their car and off their car, and charging stations as well. So this is just something, that language that we put in that we put in will be maybe for a future administration, or if we're gone, other people can look at it and follow and have an idea and remember that that was something citizens wanted then. So whatever we put in there, the more information we put in there broadly, the better off we are, if that makes sense. So, okay. Does anybody have, we don't have citizens here or online, I'm not able to check online. Does anybody have any citizen requests? Have citizens hit y'all with any requests?
I can look, let me see. Don't see it. While I'm looking that up, while I'm looking to see if there's any comments, I have a few quick things, if that's okay.
Sure. Well, yeah, if there's no comments, then next is city council issues or concerns for the agenda. So if there are any comments, we'll just move right to that, and you can.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking on our feed and I don't see any comments.
through that, and with regard to the DDA position, it's an important position because there are 2 developments that the city will be presented in the very near future. So, if you wanna be a part of what is happening in that commercial district and how the future of that area is steered, I would suggest you apply to serve on the Downtown Development Authority and be a part of that process to help the city out, help us guide that area into the future, especially as it relates to a rails to trails connection from Athens to 30 miles down the road in the future, and a $60 million film and TV studio that is being built rapidly 2 miles away.
Mhm.
And just so you all know, Mayor Gertz is working on a date for me. I've asked him to put together a tour for us of that facility, that site. So he and I wanted Mayor Gertz and Commissioner Davenport to join us on that tour. So he has reached out to the film and TV folks that are building that facility, and he's just waiting on a good date from them when they can kind of give us a tour of the area and show us what to expect out there. So be on the lookout for that. Any other council concerns, issues for the agenda? Okay, Bruce, thanks again for the hard work. Thank y'all all for the hard work. Gary, I'm gonna get with you to set up a meeting with Sherry from Marigold Collective and talk about budget there and just kind of all things Marigold Collective, possibly Friday. And but I'll get with you offline for that. Y'all keep a good thought. Somebody watch the commission meeting tonight and send me a text. Can't wait to see it.
I've actually had it on while we were going. They were supposed to start at 5, but they didn't start until 6. So they probably won't get to out of 50, maybe in 30 minutes. Unexpected.
I am too. All right, let's keep a good thought. And that concludes our workshop for tonight. Thank you all.